You're listening to the Money Dad Podcast, practical financial and business conversation from a dad who knows money. I'm April Adams, and please welcome my dad, the Money Dad, Robert Adams. So I had a friend come talk to me. Her name's Catherine. She said I could share some of her story because she's in a very unique situation where she is actually working in Korea right now as a teacher. But she came back for Christmas, and she actually went back to Korea today. But she said, before I go back, I want to talk with you about some of my retirement accounts. Because Catherine is now at the point, and I've known her since she was in college, I believe, and we would talk finances, and she'd take some of my financial classes and stuff, and we'd joke around because she likes to pretend to be irresponsible, but she's not. She's actually not irresponsible, but just knowing what to do with some of her money is now the question because she actually has some. And so she realized she has two regular retirement accounts. So one from a previous job, so it's just money that's sitting in some whatever fund that she set up. So nothing's being contributed to that one. Then she has another one where one of her teaching organizations is contributing. But then she found out she has a third thing, and that's a Korean pension that has been accumulating. And she says, I really don't know what to do with this. Well, right now she just has to let that sit until she comes back to the United States. That's not even an issue right now. But she said, with these other funds, what do I do with them? And so we had a discussion about it, but I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about retirement and what to do whenever we are actually saving money. And now we have something, but we need to think about the future. So let's get into that.
Well, we'll back up a little bit first. We have talked a lot about getting out of debt, getting an emergency fund going, making sure you have enough money put back in case things come up. Now we're under control. We know where our money's going. We know how much we have left over. And now it's time to start trying to save/invest. And that is one of the things that we'll talk about. And then I'm going to bring in some of the things that are specifically to her case.
Okay.
I tell you what, let's bring them in first because right now it's fresh on my mind. If you have another 401k plan with another company that you have...
Or a 403B.
403B.
If you're a nonprofit.
Whatever the retirement plan is that you have with another company, a lot of times people will ask me, would I need to combine it with what I have now? And the question is, I don't know, because I don't know what you're invested in that particular plan. If you are in a good mutual fund and that mutual fund's doing well and it is beating the average and your ex-employer is not trying to push you out of the plan, with all those ifs, I would do absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. Because part of what you have saved is in a good place. But if you look at your plan that you have with an ex-employer and you're not making any money with it, then you do want to consider moving it. I know someone now that started and worked 1 year with a company and they didn't put anything in it. But the company they worked for, actually the first year he did work, contributed $7,000. He's been gone a year. And he called me and he said, Mr. Robert, what did I do with this money? I said, what money? He said, man, I didn't put anything in it. The company put $7,000 in it. And now it's worth $14,600. I said, well, as long as they don't make you take it out, I wouldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, especially if it's doubled within
because it's making money. So there are times that you do want to combine them, and there are times that you don't want to combine them. If you just want everything in one place, then if you're doing it for peace of mind, then combine everything and find yourself a good financial advisor that helps people in retirement, and do combine them and put them together. Then, if you did want to keep them where they are, then start something else. If they're doing good and you're investing in funds that are making money, then let those continue to make money for you. But do monitor them. Even though you're not an employee there anymore, you still have access online to the plan. You have access to what mutual funds you can put your money in. You can still manage that fund by changing, what you invest in.
Yeah, and that's really what she and I talked about, where I think whenever she set up the one that's left, she just put things into one mutual fund. And then she said, what does this mean? And then what are my other options? And we pulled up where she had all kinds of funds she could put into. And so then it became the question where, well, do I need to move a portion of this money not out of this account, but do we need to adjust the funds?
And that's where you need to look at it, at least once a year. I would look at it probably once a quarter. Mm-hmm. Certain things are tied to the economy.
Yep.
You can look and see what's going on good in the economy, what's going on bad, and then you can make decisions based on that. One of the things you did remind me, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but on diversification, be very, very careful that you diversify properly. Mm. Most companies that offer retirement funds, they'll give you a list of funds that you can choose from to participate with your 401k and so forth. And some people think, well, if I go pick 4 different funds, I have diversified. Well, that is not true all the time. Mm-hmm. What you want to look at when you look at these company funds is look in the fund and see what their top 10 investments are. You will always see what the top 10 are. So if you had Fund 1, Fund 2, Fund 3, and Fund 4, and all those 4 funds invested in Amazon and Tesla and Google and Microsoft, then guess what? You didn't diversify. Mm-hmm. Most of the top level or highest percentage of that fund is those stocks. Now, it may taper off in some other areas, but technically you didn't diversify probably the way that you intended to. Mm-hmm. At my age, I am 68 years old. I still participate in a 401k with a company that I work with, and even at 68, and the reason I'm using this age is people say, well, you don't want to take too many risks. Well, this one particular fund, I'm not planning on using it to live off of when I retire because I'm already old enough to retire. So I started about 7 years ago just putting so much a week into this little old fund. And I only bought one fund. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to buy those things I just talked about, like NVIDIA's come along now, Tesla was in there, Google, Alphabet, Microsoft, all those high-tech funds, and it was all high risk. I watched that fund go up one year, I watched it crash the next year. Mm-hmm. But overall, the last 10 years, sit down for this one because this is pretty good. It has averaged over the last 10 years 20.3% each year. So sometimes when you look at what you're going to invest in, just look around the things that are happening around you and who's buying what and who's not buying what and what's going on. I learned that at an early age when I was trying to learn about investments. There was a guy named Peter Lynch who was a big mutual fund investor, and he always tore it up. And one of his biggest stocks in his portfolio was called legs. Now, some of you are too young to understand what legs are, but legs, do what?
Pantyhose?
Legs was pantyhose
They came in the egg.
that was stuffed into an egg
I used to
and
have
put
some.
at the end of the aisle in a grocery store. And somebody said, "How in the world did you invest in legs?" He said, "Well, my wife come home. She'd been buying those things. I wondered what all those little eggs were around the house." And she was so excited that she kept buying these stockings and an egg. So therefore, I went out and looked at the company and bought a lot of stock in the company. Now, obviously, some things aren't going to last forever.
Yeah, I miss them.
So you
Haven't
do.
Seen them. Haven't seen the
So you
legs.
do have to change your approach every now and then.
But I did hear people talking about possibly resurrecting them. So
Well, there you go. What goes around comes around. But anyway, we kind of got ahead of ourselves. But one of the things that, but I hope we did answer some questions. And for people that's already in a certain place, do think about those things. And as we go through these podcasts, we're going to get more in detail about some of this.
Well, and I don't know where this fits in because we might have to reverse back to talk about some more basics. But I can say with some of my conversation with Catherine too, one of the points you were making about risk and age, she's 30. So I said, you're going to invest differently than someone who's maybe 70
Right.
or 80 years old. I say, you have more room for risk because like you were saying, the other stock, you saw it go up, you saw it go down. Well, if it was your last year to live and it crashed, that would be bad. But statistically, if you're 30, you have some more years. And so if you can hang in there with something, then you can see it get that, 23% return or whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
But then there's also a lot of these accounts, you don't even have to know everything about the stocks and the funds. The funds will tell you, oh, this is a growth fund. This is, they have terms like small cap, you have the local things, you have your bonds and different things like that, which I wouldn't deal with too much unless you just want something that's not really going to change too much. But I told her, I said, don't get too much in the weeds. Decide how much risk you want to take, and then look at those funds and diversify by risk.
Well, investing in the stock market is, we talked about diet in one of our podcasts. It's sort of like the type of foods that you eat. I'm the type that I can eat a whole plate of spicy food at 3 o'clock in the morning. I can go to bed and I can just have a wonderful rest of the night's sleep.
Oh, gosh.
Your mother can't even take a bite of a burrito at 3 o'clock in the morning and go to bed and have a wonderful rest of the night of sleep. So
I can't eat after 8 p.m.
So there you go. You can't eat after 8. My point is, there's something called risk tolerance. What is your tolerance to risk? Mm-hmm. If you invest in mutual funds and you have some people to look over that for you, which you do if you're in a company 401k, don't look at it every day if you have a low risk tolerance. 1 year, the fund I was talking about that had been successful for me, it went down 12% that year. The rest of the funds in our company fund, just say on the average, because the market kind of crashed that year, they were like 5%, 4%, maybe a 6%, but mine was down 12%. And a guy called me and said, "Man, that thing we in, I need to sell that. That thing's down, 12%. I said, "Well, do you think those companies are going out of business, or do you think they just had a bad year?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, if you think that they're going to be around for the next 10 years, you might want to ride this one out. Mm-hmm. And 2 years later, he told me he appreciated me sharing that with him.
Yeah.
That because even though it went down 12, it ended up going up 32%. So we back to the 20.3. So your risk tolerance is what you need to invest in. If you do not like the ups and downs of the economy, the stock market, then put it in a savings account where you're going to make no money, but at least you'll have peace of mind. And one of the things that you can do there, I will throw this in for a smaller rate of investment. Right now, if you do invest your money in a bank account and they pay you a couple % interest, you can only put up to $250,000 per account. But in a company I'm working with, rates are going down now, so that means money market rates are going down. I want access to the money, but I can't make any money off of it now because now they dropped down to about 2.25.
Yeah.
So what I started doing was buying something called T-bills. And I've been buying like 3-month, 6-month T-bills because the rates are about 1.5 or 1.75 higher than those money market rates. Even though they're not the best, I still have access to my money. Here's another thing to consider. A normal bank account, FDIC insured, is insured up to $250,000. And it's backed by the U.S. government. So T-bills are backed by the U.S. government. But guess what? If I put $2 million in a T-bill or $2 million in a bank, I'm covered with the T-bill up to $2 million. I'm covered at the bank $250,000. The other thing is with T-bills, there's no state taxes on T-bills. So if you were to make 3 3/4 on it, you may be making 4, a little over that, because you're not going to pay state taxes. So I guess what we ended up doing now, we was talking about an overview before maybe on the next podcast that we get some details. But whatever your path is and wherever you end up, when you start getting extra money, I think I mentioned it doesn't matter if you put $100 in something and make 20% or $10,000, you still made 20%. So start somewhere and start the process, because the main thing is procrastination will kill you. And I've had this little folder probably for about 40 years, but guess what hadn't changed? Procrastination will kill you if you don't start, investing when you can. When you get out of financial debt, when you pay off your student loans, now a lot of people, we talked about it, that money burns a hole in their pocket and they want to start spending it. And it's fine to do that. It's your life. But what about saving money for the future? You may happen to live longer than you intend to. And then what's going to happen whenever you don't have that money? So anything that you can save, people say, well, how much should I put back? As much as you can afford. That's what you want to invest. I can give you the national answer that a lot of people say to do this % for that and this % for that. And that is a guideline. There's nothing wrong with that. But my answer is you put in it what you can.
Yeah, and think about what you need to live off of.
Yeah, and then for whatever entertainment, if you got some money you put in your pocket now, go enjoy life, but don't spend it all on enjoying life now and not have anything in the future that you can use to enjoy. Because trust me, when y'all get to be 68, your body does not function the way it used to. And you will not be doing some of the things that you're doing now. And that may take you out of some jobs that you're used to doing. One of the things that comes up a lot, well, retirement's still a long way off. There's plenty of time for me to save. Or we just have too many expenses right now to put anything aside. Or I love this one. I'll get around to it sooner or later. We've always talked about discipline, and saving takes discipline, investing takes discipline, and then of course, like your friend Catherine, she will probably be asking now, where do I put my money? Well, there's a lot of people that can help with that once you start saving. But if you don't start saving, then it doesn't matter where you put your money, because you ain't gonna have any if you don't start. An example on this this little folder that I had was very interesting, and I always show this to people when I work with them personally on their finances. But if you were 36 years old and you started saving $4,000 a year, and you saved that $4,000 a year for 20 years, the math is real easy. You will have put in $80,000. Now, 10% is not an outrageous average return. Most average returns around 7 or 8, but let's just use 10 because that's the way this thing was written. So we're going to use what was written.
Easier math.
Easier math. Well, at the end of 20 years, that $80,000 would be worth $252,000. Now follow me on this one because the next one I show you is going to tell you why you don't want to procrastinate. So now at 55, you don't put in any more money. You just stop right where you're at. And I'm not advising that, but this is an example. And then that money kept going until you were 65. Then you would have $653,000 off that $80,000. That should be enough for all you out there to want to have enough incentive to want to start doing something. Because those that said retirement's still a long way away, there's plenty of time. Well, here comes another time example with the same money. So let's say you didn't start until you were 46 years old, and you contributed that same $4,000 a year starting at 46, and at age 65, you did end up contributing $80,000. Well, at that same rate, you made $252,000. So starting at 46, putting in $80,000 for 20 years, you now have $252,000. Mm-hmm. Starting at 36, putting in $80,000 a year for 20 years, and not doing anything from age 55 to 65, you have $653,000. So procrastination will kill you in retirement when you can take the same amount of money as long as you have it in your bank account and can afford it. I did not keep running this out, but if that couple that started at 36 kept doing it up to age 65, I would guess it'd probably be about $1.3, $1.4 million. Mm-hmm. It might be more than that. So you can become a millionaire if you want to be disciplined once you get out of debt and know that you got money left over. But you have to be disciplined about it. You have to be determined about it. You have to be focused about it. The neat thing that I might try to run just to let you know, and maybe our next podcast, what if you could start at 26 and do that for 40 years? You would have way enough money to retire off of. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing I wanted to drive home, other than the other things we talked about, to get started on investing is, first of all, start. I think I used the term, my dad used to take me down to passbook savings and put in like $5 a week. Mm-hmm. He was trying to teach me, put something back per week. Let your mind get into the habit of saving and look at what you can get at the end of those 52 weeks. Well, when you get in a position of making money, look at what you can get if you just stick to it and don't interrupt it. Mm-hmm. You know, you look, sometimes we talk about our toys, whether they be boats, guns, hunting, football games, season tickets, whatever. Do have fun. Go do things. But some people have 2 boats, and that one boat's going to cost you. You know what boat stands for, don't you? Boat stands for break out another 1,000, but in 2026, it means break out another 10,000.
Yeah. Or find a friend with a boat. That's easier.
Well, break out 1,000 is where you're first getting started. But if you get a bigger one, it's break out another 10,000. Now, if you can save money, if you can invest, and you can have a big nest egg at the end of your life, and you making tons of money, go have a ball. But if you're just trying to do it because you think your neighbor's got a boat or a certain kind of gun or a certain kind of car or a certain kind of whatever, you see where I'm going with it, then learn that your neighbor's not you. And what was that thing I talked about, having tunnel vision?
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that you look out for you and your family.
Yeah. And so what this is doing, all of this is compounding over time. I think we've talked about compound interest. Compound
interest is your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
What happens there is it's real simple. If you put in $1,000, get 10%, that's $100 on your $1,000. Then at the end of the year, you now have $1,100. Well, at 10%, it don't start over on your $1,000. It starts 10% on $1,100, and then that gets added to it, and then it's 10% on the other, so it keeps compounding and compounding. So that's the term, compound interest, and just understand that compound interest is definitely your best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I want to make another point about your retirement accounts. And if you have a company or you're with an organization that will put in a percentage too, you don't necessarily have to have all of your debt paid off to start investing in your retirement.
You won't, if you can afford, here I go beating up on Starbucks again. If you can afford to go to Starbucks and spend $6 a trip, 5 days a week, that's $30 a week. Take one of those weeks and just put 30 into your 401k. If you feel like you got to go to Starbucks the other 3, just take one of those weeks. Now what's going to happen is your company most likely is going to match a portion of that money. That is free money.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't cost you a dime. And then when that free money gets compound interest, along with your money getting compound interest, that's how you can have these numbers I just talked about in this procrastination example. So moving forward to the next one, we'll talk more about some details and how to do certain things, what a 401k means, what does a Roth mean, what's a mutual fund. I know we mentioned that in kind of an overview answering Catherine's question, but we'll get more in detail about that and try to educate people to the best of our knowledge in the next podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Money Dad Podcast. Head on over to our website, themoneydadpodcast.com, for more resources and to send in any questions that you might have. Do your homework, and we'll see you next time.